Hey guys, I'm Scott Brown, the developer for Worldstone Chronicles, and this is my 27th devlog. It's been a while since my last devlog, I'm sorry about that, but I've got a whole bunch of stuff to show you today, so stick around and let's get rolling. Now the first thing I want to start off with is some new NPCs that I added outside of the keep. I needed something that would have crafting ingredients for people to easily get, and this cow is basically a source of getting meat and horns and that sort of stuff that you can use for crafting ingredients. I don't want crafting to be one of these tasks that takes up a lot of your time, but it is one of those things that you still have to do a little bit. So I decided to put these outside of the castle. They do have very, very long respawns, so you can't just sit there and zone in and out and farm the crap out of them. They do have timers on them, so when you kill one, it's going to take like 6 hours or so for another one to spawn. There's about like 10 of them out front here, so you can get some beef and some horns from them, but you'll have to wait until those respawn timers are up. I thought it was an interesting way of getting some crafting ingredients for people. Now, I did use the same scripts that allow these guys to be passive, so you don't have to attack them. You can walk right by them. They won't do anything. They're quite peaceful. And there's that yellow circle around them that basically displays that they're passive towards you. Now, I did have to add some animations to them. It did require me to do some serious finagling with this this model, because I didn't actually make this. I bought this for like a few bucks on like Turbo Squid or some crap like that. And I ended up having to make my own animations within Unity inside there using the nodes. It was really strange. I ended up being able to do it. I was very stubborn about it. I didn't want to have to do a whole cow myself, because this is like reinventing the wheel. I'm not going to bother, right? It's a cow. I just needed a dying animation. So here I am rigging a way of him like falling over. I also had to make an animation for his attack, because obviously when people make these cows, they're not thinking that I'm going to turn it into a cow that attacks people. So that was something I also had to rig up as well. But long story short, she is all fixed up now. We have blood on her. She has some basic attacks, and it's helpful for building crafting. Next thing I want to show you guys is what I did with the blue abilities in my game. Blue abilities, just to summarize it for you, are abilities that when the cooldown's over, they situate themselves on the left-hand side here, and you can use them when they're ready, but they won't auto-fire. So they're very handy if you have like a really big heal or something that's very situational that you need to hang on to. So my problem was, though, that a lot of classes and characters in the games that you have, they might have the same appearance because the icons are shared, right? So I thought I could put little portraits on it, but then that didn't really look so good. So then I came up with this idea where when you hover over one, it'll make the portrait of who it belongs to had this like bluish color, as you can see in the bottom left corner here. So I really put that together, and I was really happy with that look. It is a tiny little subtle thing that maybe a lot of people won't realize what's going on, but for people who really start to get a deep dive into the game, that sort of thing I think will be invaluable. Now, while I was doing UI stuff, I decided to throw in this new tooltip. A lot of you guys requested to be able to see what we have equipped on and compare it to what we're hovering over in our inventory. So I went ahead and added that in there. It was a little tricky to figure out with all the different things that could be possible. So it was mostly items that were weapons that were kind of tricky. So when you hover over certain weapons, you might have like a harp on, which is a musical instrument. So it had to figure out what we were wearing and all that cool stuff in order to display what's on there. But it works now. It's there. I'm glad it is, because it is definitely handy. Instead of having to do the math in your head back and forth, it was kind of a pain in the butt. So for you guys out there, if you're looking for it, it's on the build now. Go check it out. Now, I really am spending a lot of time in the city right now trying to fix things up. And one area that I didn't really have anything going for it, yet it was right in the center here, was this merchant here. I didn't really have anything on them. So I decided to make this like a housing phase merchant. It's not exactly like this pinnacle thing in the game or anything, but you do have a house that's in the middle of the town here, right above the bar. And you can just go up to the staircase here and you can zone in. And so I decided it would be pretty cool if you could just like maybe decorate the place to some degree. I'm not trying to make a sim game or anything, but just a few little knickknacks inside the room here would be kind of cool. So I turned that merchant over there into a vase merchant that you can basically purchase, and it's a bit of a money sink, I think, for the most part. And I like the idea. It was kind of cool. So I kind of went a little bit further, and I had another place that I had to really jazz up, and I think I might just keep going with this idea and just allow your house to be, you know, extravagant with like little details. Now, I didn't want to make every house all about quests. You know, there's lots of quests in the game, but I do have a lot of places in this town that don't have anything in them right now. So I was reaching for some ideas. This one kind of just stuck its head up, and I was like, hey, that's actually kind of cool. It wasn't all that complicated for me to add in there. Now, with that same idea, I did have a really large house that I had to figure something out with. So I decided to make it an art gallery, and that way you can add some pictures to your house. There'll be just like familiar little sites in the game, I think. One of them being like a kraken and some other like battles and dragons and things like that. So I kind of devised here. Right now I'm just working on a little easel here because I want the actual artist place to be something that it's not only just about buying the pictures, but I'm going to actually make a quest where you have to figure out where all the pictures are going. So there's going to be a thief involved here who's stealing the pictures at night. So it is a quest that if you don't finish it, you can't actually buy the pictures and open up the shop. So I decided to make it a stealth only quest that once you complete it, you'll be able to purchase pictures for your house. But I came up with this idea using some other scripts that I had designed. And I wanted to make it kind of like a Sherlock Holmes kind of thing where, you know, there's going to be some clues with these footprints where you can see where the bandit is come into the art gallery and stolen some of the pictures. And that way you can kind of devise where you need to go later on. And all these things are interactable too. You can just click on the button that's over top of all the different clues. You just have to get a little closer to them. Now, this guy here, you can only approach him when you are stealth. He does have this little tiny interactable box as well. Now, if you approach him when you're visible, he just fades away and you don't get the option to do that. So it is a stealth only function. And I thought it was pretty cool because it plays into the bandit story, which is they have a cave, which is about northeast of here, that plays a big part in the beginning story where you're trying to join a guild. They want you to retrieve some stolen goods. The bandits basically have a lot of quests that tie to the city here. And this idea here, I built a little bit more into it. So when you go to the bandit caves, you actually can find pictures that have been stolen. They're not actually like a logged quest or anything, but they're these pictures that show up, and you can just go back to the art gallery here and she'll give you cash and some experience for them. And every time you go back to the cave, some more spawn, and they're basically repeatable little quest items is what I call them. So I thought that was really cool that, you know, as you're progressing in the game, all these little things kind of tie together. I thought it was kind of cool. And by using the bandits here, was something that I thought was really neat. Now, while I was in these bandit caves, I decided to add some potions and other clickable items that you can find. These are basically a new script that I've designed where they don't show up all the time. They use the timer system, and they also have a percentage chance of showing up. So I basically am just putting a whole bunch everywhere. You won't be able to see everyone at the same time. Once you do find one, that spot's basically taken for the allotted time that I've assigned in there. And if you do come back, maybe you'll see some of the other ones that haven't spawned yet. So it is one of those little systems that I hadn't actually done in some of these other zones. So I decided, while I got this thing open, let's finish this off. So now back to town. I have this church here. There was a very, very basic interaction with one of the priests here. And I really wanted to build something more into this priest here. So I decided I wanted to be able to populate the chapel here with people. So I decided to make some sort of like people that are like sickly or depressed around town that you can interact with. And as part of a quest through this guy here, Farley, he basically asks you to cheer up the town with your spirit. And this is a Aldous only quest, which is your first companion you find in the game. He's a very religious, he is a healer, priest kind of thing. Now, by communicating with Farley, with him on your team, he does ask for some help through Aldous. And if you agree to do it, you basically go around town and just find some people that are, mostly just laying down on the ground, kind of depressed. It's pretty obvious who they are. But they don't all show up at the same time, so it's kind of one of these quests that you can't just pound it out in one sitting. You kind of have to come back and forth. And or if you're really lucky, I suppose you could search the whole town and see if you can get lucky. But it is a bit of a work in progress quest. I thought there would be a great way of making the town feel like it's changed some bit for you. And when you do interact with these people and finish the quest, eventually they will populate the chapel there, the church. I'm doing some more work on the outside of the castle here, more bandit-themed stuff, but I wanted you to revisit Ewan. He's the guy at the start of the game that takes you on a little caravan ride. Basically, he's just about to get robbed here, and you can save him if you want. I thought it was neat to be able to see him again. It wasn't just some, knockoff NPC that you never see again. I wanted to try something a little different, so I think I might throw him around all the different zones once in a while with little events where you can save them. Obviously, they'll be all different and won't be the same as this, but I thought that was neat. I like to be able to throw some stories in there, and he basically pumps your tires and off you go. When I was in the zone here, I decided to fix up this bridge even further. It was looking a little boring before, so I added some crates and some. I'm going to add some guards here and make them basically a quest hub. So I wanted it to look like they've been sitting here for a while. They're basically going to vet all the people that come in and out of the town, so let's theme it that way. There's lots of plagues going around. There's zombies running around. So I thought this would be pretty neat to make it look like they've been there for a while. What I'll also do is attach some simple little quests that you can do for them. One of them is just find some missing crates that were stolen and bring them back and get your quest reward from these guys. It's just something that you can do along your main quest line just to further some interest for you. So nothing too crazy, but I thought that was a nice little addition. Now, one big update I wanted to do was fix up the starting of the game where the character creation is. I found it looked a little bit lame, so I decided why not just utilize all the great graphics that I have in-game and just make an in-game version of how you see it, so cinematics and that sort of stuff. So I went on a really long binge of this stuff here. I think it took me about 2 weeks to put it all together. Been using Timeline, been making just basically a massive war sequence. Here I am just putting together the starting here of the war sequence where it's basically going to be the great battle and fixing it up with lots of detail. There's all these bad guys here. They're all animated using Timeline. It's been a huge little undertaking, but the result looks really good. I'm super happy with it. So, as I keep adding more detail in here, it just keeps amazing me how it's developed. I'm adding the tiniest little tiny things in here, but it is part of the intro of the game. You'll be able to see a little cinematic now in the new demo that's up there. It won't just be these pictures that have basically horribly drawn. Now you get a nice little action sequence with the Necromancer and a couple key characters that you'll be able to find some information in the library if you really start digging deep. So with that scene done, I decided I needed to also make a scene where you see the Mage Council basically decide what they want to do with this whole crown idea, and they conjure up a new idea. And long story short, it doesn't really work, but that's part of the story that's being baked in here. I thought this part was so much easier than the war sequence. The war sequence was so much work. I think it took me pretty much the better part of the 2 weeks to put all that together. When you actually start designing your character, you get this really cool looking campfire scene where you can see what your character looks like in the game, and then also a little portrait. I also, following that, wanted you to have a little bit of a wagon ride just with your friend Ewan there, which we mentioned earlier. So this is a little bit more visual now. I did end up keeping the little map thing on the right side here. I thought that addition alongside the wagon trip was, an event-filled looking little thing. So that is also kept in there. So I did retain some of the old cinematics in there, but everything else has been chopped out. Now let's have a little look at the cinematics here that I've put together.
Once upon a time, long, long ago, in the kingdom of Ruineth, where magic filled everywhere, was a war of darkness. The war streamed far and wide, plaguing the living and rising the dead. For there was a dark necromancer who called upon the darkest of magic with his blackened crown. In a lengthy and brutal battle, all of mankind joined and defeated the necromancer, and his crown was destroyed, ending his sway on the dead. In order to prevent such a tragedy again, a council of mages from all over the world formed and conjured a new crown, blocking the dead from being controlled. But as time passed, the stories, the magic, and all of its secrets are all but forgotten. All that you have are these stories that feel more like legends to most, and a medallion that has been passed down generation after generation in your family. You were told to never take it off. And so begins the story of your journey for the crown.
Now you can go ahead and make your character. You get to see all the different views in the character creation now, which is, it's so much more beautiful looking than what it was before. Layout's still kind of the same. I explored maybe moving things around a bit, but I was like, fuck, it just worked so nicely in the middle like that. It was kind of a fluke, but here's the rest of it.
Your journey starts on a wagon trip, heading to the castle of Sapphoween. Ewan, a local farmer, has hired you as protection, due to reports of looters on his regular route to the castle. Night approaches, and you both prepare to set up camp.
Anyways, guys, that concludes this devlog. I do want to make one shout out to an unknown player. His character name was Gray. He had sent in a bug report. I think it was mid-April. I don't know how I missed it. But he had found a particularly rare item, and I made a typo on the item, and it fucked his save file up. Now, I feel terrible for the guy, because he got really far, and he actually is the furthest that's ever gotten into the game since the big update. So I was really happy to see that progression that this player had done. They got so far. I think they got right to probably to the end boss there in the demo, and I guess maybe saved it and shit broke on them. I feel horrible, but it is fixed now. If you are one of my viewers here, the update's in there. I made a particular little fix for you in there, so I hope you enjoy fighting that cultist leader at the end of the underground cave. So cheers, man. Really happy to see that you've played the game that far. That means a lot to me. You didn't say a whole lot, but I saw it all in your save file, and that was pretty cool, man. Enjoy the game. All right, and back to you guys here. It's been awesome. I've made so much stuff this devlog here. I did kind of condense it down a little bit. There's quite a bit more that I'm missing, but I want to get back to making this game. I'm having a lot of fun. I'll see you guys in the next devlog. Cheers, and take her easy.